We will focus on three important aspects which are relating to this one, namely learning organization, HR branding strategies, ethical issues in international HRM. If time permits, the focus will be also on knowledge management and virtual organizations. Now let us discuss about learning organizations. A learning organization is an organization which facilitates the learning of its members and thus continuously transforming itself. An organization which is skilled at creating, acquiring, and transferring knowledge, thus consciously improving itself to the reflection of new knowledge and insights, is known as a learning organization. The concept of learning organization has been developed by Peter Senge in 1990. According to Senge, a learning organization is an organization that encourages and facilitates learning in order to continually transform itself to survive and excel in a rapidly changing business environment. The concept of learning organization is increasingly relevant given the increasing complexity and uncertainty of the organizational environment. Organizations can survive by transforming themselves into a learning organization because the 21st century brought out a highly complex, interrelated, and integrated global economy presenting new challenges to managers and employees. Now, our focus is on characteristics of learning organization. Learning organization empowers their employees to solve problems autonomously. The experiences of peer group helps them in problem solving. A learning organization enables the peer groups to share their ideas and experiences. Thus, it allows every employee to expand their knowledge and work together to achieve common goals. The organization is the major benefactor of this innovative and free thinking approach. Learning organization has five components. They start with shared vision, mental models, team mastery, personal mastery, and systems thinking. Sorry. First one, building a shared vision. Vision of the organization should become an inspiring force for every employee. Learning organizations, learning organizations create their vision through interaction with the employees in the enterprise. Leaders come out with their personal visions but fail to share them with the people in the organization. If the vision is not widely shared amongst its members, it becomes difficult for the leaders accomplish the vision. A widely shared vision makes it employees to do tasks, but they want to do so instead of they are told to do so. Shared vision helps in building the relationships between the employees and the organization. Hence, the only way to create a shared vision is through the coordination of the organization's vision with the individual's vision. The next thing we need to talk about is systems thinking. Learning organizations adopt system thinking approach which emphasizes not to focus on individual issues but understand the issues from the entire organizational perspective. System thinking reflects the observational process of an entire organization. Managers always need to have a big picture because every action and consequence is correlated with another. System thinking enables to understand interrelationships and patterns of change in particular situations. Thus, this approach helps managers to determine cause and effect. The next one happens to be mental models. The employees must identify the values of the company and have clear perspective towards the goals of the organization. A comprehensive understanding towards organization goals enables organizational members to visualize where to go and how to develop the organization further. The organization needs to be flexible enough to accept changes and adopt new mental models. Successful organizations are those who learn new things faster than its competitors. The next element in the learning organization is team learning. Team learning helps to accomplish excellent functional team dynamics. It is important for the employees to consider its peers as team members instead of competitors. Peer groups must have collaborative approach rather than competitive approach. Because collaborative approach helps the employees to share their knowledge and experiences in problem solving without having any fear of judgments. Moreover, the working environment should be safe where honest mistakes are forgiven. Otherwise, no learning can be experienced. Next, personal mastery. Personal mastery occurs when an individual has a clear vision of a goal combined with an accurate perception of reality. The employees may believe they lack the competencies to achieve their goals. Hence, organization should train the subconscious minds of their employees. This helps them to handle more complex problems quicker because when people believe in their powerlessness, it will hold them back from realizing their vision. Hence, employees need to be properly trained in order to gain personal mastery. Having seen the elements of learning organization, now let us focus on strategies of building a learning organization. The rate at which organizations learn may become the only sustainable source of competitive advantage. This is what Shinji says. Thus, simple truth is that new ideas are essential if learning is to take place. Learning organizations are not created by themselves. This requires an organization which facilitates learning. People have found the idea of a learning organization to be inspiring yet difficult to implement. Learning organizations frequently involves deep change in the mindsets of employees as well as the culture of the organization and the society. Thus, change doesn't occur overnight. Human resource management strategies, they play a vital role in creating learning organizations. These learning organizations make human powers stronger to deal with challenges. Human resource management must play a novel role in order to facilitate the organizations to remove their old shells, acquire new ones. The following are some of the HRM strategies which help in building learning organizations. These strategies we will discuss under the caption Strategic Fit, training and development, reward system, high impact learning culture. The first strategy happens to be talent acquisition. While acquiring talented workforce, it would be important to find out whether the new employees truly love their jobs and willing to learn things from their jobs. Hence, in the selection process, HR managers have to look for people who have a positive working attitude in order to create a better culture. In addition, the selection criteria should include the ability of the candidates to learn, unlearn, and relearn things because people with such attitudes will enable to deal with change. The second thing happens to be strategic fit. Business strategy must be aligned to the executive vision of being a vibrant learning organization. Organizations must commit to get their teams trained and participate in learning outcomes. Further, individual learning and learning from the environment should be converted into an organizational learning and thus strive for the organizational progress. The next element in the strategies happens to be training and development. Training plays a vital role in change management. Effective training and development practices may enhance the abilities of employees to adapt quick change. Organizations invest in training and development generally to acquire and improve skills required to perform their jobs effectively. Training programs on emotional intelligence may help them to cope with the change. Organizations have to discard futile training and development programs which are tedious and dull, and employees attend them merely because they have to. Organizations need to stress on industry-specific training and send many employees for international seminars and conferences that can be beneficial to them. On-the-job training classes and holding group activities or interesting projects, they give people chances to work and to learn together. Organizations need to give importance to formal training because it plays an important role in career development and professional networking. Formal training must be made available to the employees. Employees are properly motivated to utilize these perfectly by creating a learning environment. The next thing we have to focus in the strategy or in the HR strategies is the reward system. Fair reward system will have ample effects on employees. Effective reward policy encourages employees to be more open and positive towards organization. This brings out shared ownership among the employees, which in turn makes them to strive for realizing the organizational vision. Establishing high impact learning culture is yet another strategy in order to implement learning organization concept in the organization. Culture of learning plays a vital role to make organizations innovative and creative. Hence, HR professionals have to initiate measures to establish learning culture in the organizations. Learning culture is a culture of the organization wherein values, processes, and practices constantly encourage its employees to improve their knowledge, skills, competencies, and performance. Now we shall discuss learning organization in the context of international HRM or in the context of global level. It constantly exploits the variety of circumstances in which it operates to generate innovation. Global Learning Organization applies corporate-wide mechanisms to create incentives for innovations that appear to be of greatest value to the firm as a whole, thus encouraging innovations in all the units. Global learning organizations efficiently diffuses those innovations created by one subsidiary to the rest of the subsidiaries. Global business organizations, if they want to become a learning organization while investing in overseas projects, require to invest not simply on production facility but also on innovation capability, which may be either in the form of a customer service unit or a production engineering unit or an R&D facility. Now our focus is on employer branding. This is yet another strategy which has become very popular. We need to discuss about it. Employer branding is a long-standing concept that has found momentum in the global business environment. HR branding may be understood as the process of promoting a company or an organization as the employer of choice to a desired target group. It's all about attracting, recruiting, and retaining the employees. This applies both to the existing and also potential employees. A strong HR brand image of a company can help in attracting the best candidates and provide a larger pool of potential employees to select from. HR branding involves in creating strong, healthy work environment that may entice their employees to stay loyal and committed for the organization. In order to build best employer brand, HR policies and practices are to be designed keeping in view the expectations of the employees, how they benefit from the company, and what they are seeking to learn from the organization. Thus, employer branding is a process. The employer brand is the identity of a company as an employer of choice. Employer branding strategy that is true, credible, relevant, distinct, and aspirational surely helps in attracting best talents and retains the employee loyalty. Now let us focus on the significance of HR branding or employer branding. Good employer branding image helps, number one, in talent acquisition. Best employer branding reduces the cost of talent acquisition because people who come and join in the organization, they stay back. Therefore, the cost of acquisition is less because people who join, they'll be with the organization. Third one, employer's brand build the loyalty and commitment among its employees. Loyalty cannot be built overnight. It has to come from the hearts of people. It takes a long time. And commitment also. The word commitment we have to use in the context of availability of opportunities. When opportunities are there, will our employees leave our organization and join the other organizations? There comes this commitment. So, in spite of having opportunities, when the employees they show their gratefulness to the organization, they stay with the organization, and when they are loyal to the organization, then we can say that they are loyal. And commitment comes under whatever circumstances it might be. The work has to be done with their mind and heart and soul. When they fully focus on the work, then we say that people they are committed. Then employees they may become organizations brand ambassadors. So they speak about the company, they speak about the goodness of the company, and by looking at them, people they feel like joining in the organization. So we need not, or the company need not talk anything about the company to the prospective employees, because the prospective employees they look at the people who are working in the organization, their satisfaction level, their happiness index, and based on that, they feel like joining in the organization. Then, once we create this branding, employer branding, it automatically improves employees' engagement. They will be engaged not only physically, they are engaged with the organization even emotionally. They start owning the organization. So these are the reasons why we need to focus on HR branding. Now we shall focus on global HR branding. Global organizations need to strengthen HR brands, in order to succeed in the talent marketplace in various countries. Global organizations are more attractive to potential local employees than any local competitor. But today, many local, fast growing, and ambitious companies have emerging with powerful HR brand strategy. Established global companies should consider a comprehensive strategy. See, the reason happens to be very simple. When we are expanding into the countries and those countries are, when our competitors are there and if they adopt HR strategies which are more lucrative and attractive, then getting the right type of talent becomes a big issue. Therefore, HR company organizations having global presence, they need to create their own HR branding. In order to retain and compete with the local companies, global organizations' HR brand strategy not only need to consider competitive compensation, I use the word, say, you need to have a lucrative competitive compensation, then attractive working conditions. Managers who develop, engage, and support their staff. Initially, people they may join. But if we do not have managers who can develop, engage, and support the staff, I think people who join in the organization will not stay with the organization too long. Therefore, we need people who develop, engage, and support their staff. And good communication, but also be responsive to diverse local needs. In other words, these global companies, they need to brand themselves, they need to take up initiative which promote HR brand. At the same time, they have to pay attention to the diverse local needs. In other words, these global companies, they need to become in the long run more local. Then they'll be in a position to attract people, retain people in the organization. Hence, often some degree of local tailoring of the HR strategies becomes necessary. For example, Tata's considers its employees' wants in not only India but also wherever they operate. It has tailored employee value proposition for each of its major markets like quality to employees in India, development opportunities in China, and interesting jobs in the United States. The reason being simple. See, we need to understand what these employees want in those respective countries, and we have to have a value proposition, and that value proposition has to be offered to the prospective employees that are there in those countries. Few other global organizations HR branding is strengthened by building a relationship between themselves and their employee families. For example, Motorola and Nestle have tried to strengthen these links in China through their family visits and family day initiatives. Some other global organizations are focusing on building their HR brand image by articulating their organization's contribution to the development of the nation where they are operating. See, unless they pay attention to the country where they are operating, I think uh, people they don't own the organization. They get a feeling that this company happens to be a foreign company only. Then the next thing that we need to talk about is it is about HR ethical issues. HR ethical issues. These things we shall discuss. Ethics refers to a system of moral principles. It's about creating a sense of right or wrong and good or bad and the motives and the consequences of these actions. Ethics refers to well founded standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, benefits to society, fairness, or specific virtues. Now we shall focus on business ethics. Ethics in business is one of the major concerns in today's business world. Business organizations they are focusing on ethics because of the globalization and the explosion in the communication system. Hence, while formulating the rules and regulations, ethical aspects are taken into consideration. Business ethics brings out values and principles, thus helping in guiding the behavior in the organizations. Businesses should have a balance between the needs of the stakeholders and their desire to make profits. Apart from this, many times they require to do trade offs. Today, human resource managers must make difficult decisions to create harmony within the company and to ensure the company is operating within acceptable HR practices in each country in which it does business. IHRM managers need to enact their human resource management practices in such a way that should retain their own values everywhere they do business. At the same time, respect the values of host country also. Striking a proper balance between these two is a biggest challenge for the human resource managers. Moreover, of all the organizational issues or problems, Ethical issues are the most difficult ones to handle or deal with. Now, what are the ethical issues which are related to international human resource management? The first one happens to be trust. The second one happens to be discrimination, then corruption, reward management, and privacy issues. These are the things which we need to focus. Trust at workplace. It is observed that the major issue in IHRM is the lack of trust, not the availability of management skills. The international employers often have less trust on the capabilities and integrity of local managers. Most often, international organizations do not promote the local staff. Moreover, the element trust that the colleagues have on each other at work is yet another core ethical consideration. The second element regarding ethics happens to be discrimination at workplace. Discrimination based on gender, discrimination based on religion, discrimination based on disability, discrimination based on sexual preference. They are the major ethical concerns in IHRM. It is observed that in some countries, it is illegal to make human resource decisions based on gender, religion, disability, while in some countries, they are the base for human resource decisions. For example, role of women at workplace, say in some countries, women may be excluded from general workforce, while in few other countries, women are excluded from management jobs but included in lower management levels. Likewise, in some countries, certain works may be acceptable for men but not for women. Most importantly, in some countries, wage differentials are based on gender. Hence, it is difficult for an international HR manager to understand discrimination and adjust in a country where there is such discrimination for women. The next issue happens to be corruption. This is another ethical issue for IHRM because certain acts are highly unethical in some countries, though they are legal. For example, tipping. It is a custom officials considered normal in some parts of Africa, Asia, Latin America, but it is considered as bribery in North America. So, what is considered as normal is considered as a bribe in other countries. Thus, different countries have different rules with regard to what amounts to bribery. For example, in China, corruption is dealt harshly but gifts among associates are accepted. And the difference between gifts and bribery is not always clear. So, again, here, what is gift? What is bribe? Again, one has to differentiate. When someone gives a very costly item, one has to think that should be accepted or not, whether that's a gift or it comes under bribery. Then the next aspect happens to be under ethical practices is reward management. HR manager is often under pressure to raise the band of base salaries. There is increased pressure upon the HR function to pay out more incentives to the top management. Few other ethical issues which crop up in IHRM are determining and designing the long-term compensation and incentive plans. How do we design? How do we do it? HR has to undergo immense pressure from the top management. HR manager is quite often left in an ethical dilemma of whom to favor, top management, employees, or stakeholders. Then the next issue that we need to talk about is privacy issues. It is quite normal that any person working with an organization aspires to respect their feelings by not intruding into their personal life. Employees want the organization to protect his or her personal life. These personal lives may include things like religious matters, political and social beliefs. But certain circumstances may also arise wherein employer need to exhibit snooping behaviors. For example, mail scanning. It is one of the activities used to track the activities of an employee who is believed to be engaged in activities that are not in the larger benefit of the organization. Similarly, there are certain ethical issues in HR which are relating to health, safety, restructuring, and layoffs and employee responsibilities. Most ethical issues which was talked most of the media and activities during 2014 was corporate tax avoidance. But certain human resource management practices have also gained public attention directly and are branded as unethical. Few of them are related to disproportionate executive pay, offshoring and abusing labor, unpaid internships, and creating huge work stress. These concerns are being raised by many of workmen groups, political association, religious organization, and charitable institutions. Majority of professionals, entrepreneurs, academic bodies have been expressing the need for evaluation and improvement of the standards of behavior within the business. Most of the ethical issues are viewed distinctly by different members. Now, ethical concerns in the workplace, say HRist, workplace HR specialist perspective, nepotism and favoritism in hiring, training and promotional decisions, inconsistency in disciplinary measures, not maintaining confidentiality of employees and customers, maintaining safe environment, harassment, discrimination, and appraisal. These are the things which are expressed by workplace HR specialists. Whereas employees, they focus on not trusting management, deceiving management, indiscipline, abusive behavior, misconduct, corruption. Then the general public considers ethical issues in terms of corporate tax avoidance, harassment, corruption, executive pay bonuses, environment responsibility, discrimination, workplace practices. Now, before I get into knowledge management practices, let me focus on, because the time is too limited. First, I'll take up this one, then I'll come to virtual organization. This is the new form of organization. Virtual organization emerged in 1990s, and it is also known as digital organization, network organization, or modular organization. Simply speaking, a virtual organization is a network of cooperation made possible by what is called ICT, Information, Communication and Technology, which is flexible and comes to meet the dynamics of the market. The virtual organization is a social network in which all the horizontal and vertical boundaries are removed. In this sense, it is a boundaryless organization. It consists of individuals working out of physically dispersed workplaces, and even individuals working from mobile devices are not tied to any particular workspace. The ICT is the backbone of virtual organization. All of us know during COVID, most of the people experienced, and in many places, many organizations, this form is being continued. Now, what are the characteristics of this virtual organization? Unlike the previous traditional organizations, which are tall, this organization is a flat organization. And this virtual organization happens to be a dynamic organization. It has to change according to changing circumstances. It has to consider various socio-economic, cultural, religious aspects, and it needs to change. Then, most of the virtual organizations, they have more of informal communication rather than formal communication. We can also say there's a power flexibility in the case of informal organization, whereas in traditional organization, the power is centralized. And most of the virtual teams, virtual organizations, they are multidisciplinary because at the same time they need to address the problems which are of multidisciplinary nature. Then, if we go through the organizational boundaries seem to be very vague. Then, all these elements, they are working towards one purpose, that is the goal. And then, most of the virtual organizations orientation happens to be a customer orientation only. Then, most of the people, they work from home. There is absence of apparent structure which you visualize in the case of other traditional organization. Then in virtual organization, constantly information is shared between or among the employees. And we need to understand that most the employees that are working in these virtual organizations, they are considered as knowledge workers. They are staffed by knowledge workers. Now, the types of virtual organizations, you can see there are some people, they are telecommuters, they work on this one. Then the second type of people, the outsourcing employees, and they work on this one. And the third type of organization is completely virtual, in other words, the organization, one particular organization doesn't exist. It is a conglomeration of different types of organizations. They will be working towards doing or uh, towards a particular goal or in order to do a particular activity. Now, the question is, what are the HR issues that we face in this virtual organization or in this global organization? The first issue that crops up in the case of this global organization is how do you recruit people? Say, while recruiting people, you go through a lot of processes, and we talk about different kinds of tests and all these things. The basic question is, how do you recruit people? The second thing talks about the recruitment. We, of course, we know it happens to a positive process wherein you want to attract too many people or too many people to apply for the jobs. Out of that, you want to sell. While you want to choose a few people, how are you going to choose these people from this big lot? And the third thing is, say you are dealing with the people whom you have not met sometimes throughout or during your lifetime. You need to motivate them. How do you motivate these people? How do you? We are not saying all these are impossibilities, but these issues need to be addressed. How do you motivate these virtual teams, virtual team members? The next thing that we talk about is the performance management. How do you evaluate the performance of the people who are working in places which are spread over, I can tell you, different countries? And we discussed several issues which are relating to performance management when they are physically working or physical presence is there. But here it's a combination of not being physically present, virtually present, and spreading in different countries. There are several issues that crop up. Then communication. See, there are several kinds of communications: verbal, non-verbal, and communications, intercultural communications. These need to be addressed. The next issue we need to address, it is about the trust. How do we trust people whom we have not seen? How do we entrust them greater works? How do we empower them? Then how to lead the people who are virtually spread to different places. See, their backgrounds are different. You have to understand them. We have to understand their needs. We need to inspire those people. How do we lead them? Then the next one is there are several legal issues. See, several legal issues that crop up, and how do you address them? Then the next issue is about time zone. So you have to consider time aspect because we will be working against our nature and we'll be working in different time zones. Then how do we control? How do we ensure things are done in a proper way? So these are the several issues one need to address in the case of this virtual organization. Thank you so much. Thank you for your cooperation. I think I'm told today happens to be the last session. Thank you so much.